I have something which I believe could be such amazing news for the future of Polkadot, especially moving forward. Even though nothing I say is financial advice, it's not like this is necessarily going to translate to, the price of DOT, again, Polkadot's native token, let's say doing a 5x suddenly. It's not going to do that, but in my opinion, it's still amazing nonetheless, because keep in mind, right? We see this article right here, according to the Cryptonomist. It says that 21 shares advances with the project of an ETF on Polkadot, updated the request to the SEC. Now, you may be wondering, okay, what is 21 shares? Now, allegedly, it does say right here that it is a company specializing in the management of digital assets. And again, they have taken another step towards the launch of an ETF on Polkadot. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, who cares about this? This is relatively unknown. Well, in my opinion, it's massive because keep in mind, it showcases that Polkadot is being regarded as something that is a premier project, which I think it is. I do agree with this. And I think it's about time, people remove their focus on just, Ethereum ETF, Bitcoin ETF. Why not ETFs for others? Like, for instance, in the case of Polkadot, why not, right? I think it's very amazing. And I think this is heading in the right direction when it comes to Polkadot. Polkadot is getting this recognition. And especially during a fully fledged bull run, this type of stuff is going to matter. Even if, let's say, the ETF never launches this year. But again, even if that never happened, the hype alone would have already been enough to really do amazing wonders for Polkadot's native token called DOT during a fully fledged bull run, especially once the market picks up again. Once, things start becoming more positive. Think about what the ETF did for Ethereum and Bitcoin. I think it did wonders, even though for Ethereum, people may be thinking, take a look at it, it's not doing the best. Also, some people may be thinking, Bitcoin's not doing the best either, despite the ETF. I totally understand that. But then still, it's good in terms of creating the positive sentiment, especially during a fully fledged bull run. Again, in the world of cryptocurrencies, beyond achieving, a project's goal, people also care about the anticipated goals that they have in the future, anticipated achievements, right? And when it comes to something like the Polkadot ETF, just the idea of it could already be very amazing, especially again, once the market picks up again. And keep in mind, right, when it comes to DOT, going to the price of $150, that's still my price target for this bull run, even though that's not financial advice. But when I take a look at stuff like this, the reason being is because when you take a look at Polkadot, the fundamentals are rock solid. I mean, really, seeing news like this just verifies it. But let me explain what Polkadot is all about in a very simple way. Polkadot is aiming to connect blockchains together. It's focused on something called interoperability. Now, why is this a major issue? Because many blockchains and many networks out there, just because by nature, a lot of them are independent of one another, they cannot freely send data and value to each other, meaning that they do lack something, again, called interoperability. Now, people might be thinking, okay, what's a very famous example of this? Let me explain. We take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. Because they're independent of one another, they can't freely send data and value to each other, meaning that, again, they do lack something called interoperability. Now, what steps in and saves the day? Polkadot. This is how amazing it is. And if you think about it, these projects that are focused on interoperability, Polkadot is pretty much number one in this space, I would say, arguably, because the number two, I would say, is something called Axelar, but Axelar doesn't have the fans, the hype. It doesn't have the, perceived reputation that Polkadot has as of right now. So Polkadot really is almost one of a kind in its sector. Keep in mind, if DOT were to go to the price of $150, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $235 billion. That right there is around a 37x from here, but it's not that bad because that right there is a market cap that is still over $300 billion less than Ethereum's all-time high market cap. Ethereum reached around $550 billion in market cap back in 2021. At a time where the amount of crypto owners, if you take a look at it back in 2021, even during the peak of that, there was around 300 million. Now, according to Crypto.com research, we have over 600 million. This is a totally different ballgame, in my opinion, especially during this bull run. But of course, there's a pullback, and, I'm not necessarily worried because I think better days are ahead. I'm still going to be dollar cost averaging into DOT. The price of DOT as of right now is very similar to the point that in which it before it had that, quote unquote mini pump, I would like to call it, right? So when you think about that, a lot of my friends who are complaining and saying that, hey, I can't believe the price of DOT pumped by that much. Oh, wow, if only it was low again. Now it's low, then some of the people who are saying that, now they're scared of DOT. So really, I just don't get that. Because some people, they're stuck under this vicious cycle where they see the price going down, and then let's say they see it kind of bottom out, right? And they're like, oh wow, the price is really bad, it's gonna keep going down. But then let's say when the price pumps, they FOMO in, but then when the price dumps, they panic sell. So then it's kind of this vicious cycle, but I don't do that. Anytime an income I acquire, I hold and I just wait. That's it. I think that this born could be very special. And I think Polkadot's fundamentals is really enhanced, right? In a sense that if you take a look at it, there's something called Kusama. Kusama is the canary network to Polkadot. It's basically like a support system. So let me explain how this works, right? Usually when projects want to launch on Polkadot, they'll usually launch on Kusama first because it's far easier to rent building space in terms of the price, right? It's economically cheaper. And also on top of that, it's easier to make changes on Kusama. So again, projects that usually want to launch on Polkadot, they're going to first launch on Kusama first just to test it out. And then in some cases, they do move on to Polkadot later on. They don't have to do that because there are still amazing projects on Kusama, like for instance, Moon River, which I would arguably say is like the premier project on there. But even besides that, it's a good system, I would like to call it, when it comes to Polkadot. It's such a no-brainer for me, really, when I take a look at stuff like this and also seeing the news about a potential, Polkadot ETF. It's just this perfect package, in my opinion, but only time will tell. I'm still very bullish, and if you take a look at it, right, altcoins, usually as a worst-case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, so 18 months from that is actually around October this year. Now, this is just based off historical data. There's really no telling if it's going to be the same this time around. But I think it's actually very similar to something like Charles Hoskinson, who back in November of last year, he did say 1 or 2 years from then, he could very well see Bitcoin reaching anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $500,000. Let me just let that sink in. If Charles Hoskinson, who is not only the co-founder of Ethereum, but the founder of Cardano, says something like that, I'm going to pay attention. I think the board is still far from over, but again, only time will tell. I'm going to still stay patient. Anytime I do an income, acquire, hold, and I just wait, because when I see Polkadot, when I see how amazing it is as a project, when I see news about the potential of a ETF when it comes to it, man, I do believe that this could really be something amazing. But all I gotta do right now is just stay patient. I can't demand things to pump this time or whatever the case may be. No, I can't do that, right? But what I can do is just control what I can control, which is, again, anytime an income, acquire, hold, and I just wait. I can't tell anyone to buy Polkadot's native token called DOT because, of course, I can only speak on my behalf, but I still believe in this. I think it's too special of a project to just fail like that. I think better days are ahead. And again, DOT, its native token, going to the price of $150 during this run, that right there wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. Keep in mind, right, DOT still has over 1 million holders. I mean, that's how amazing it is. Even despite the sell-off, it's still holding pretty strong. But again, I'm still very bullish on the idea of $150 for DOT during this bull run. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. Greatly appreciate it. It's Will Need the Captain. I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm a peace. Bye.